So Gary, so a lot of things in that video I really agree with. You're trying to figure out if we can control programming, and it seems like the modern mystic is saying we can't because there's no I who is in control. But you're saying that there's this dynamic process going on that generates some kind of balance or maintains equilibrium in some way so that the organism can intelligently deal with its environment. And I agree with that, but we're changing perspectives now. It's no longer an internal control of an external world. It's a relationship between the two, right? Which is all I was ever really trying to say with the organic metaphor for the universe rather than the mechanistic. Um, you said thinking is everything, but then you also said that thinking isn't something static. It's a dynamic process. It's very plastic. Neuroplasticity means that the neurons are constantly forming new connections. Um, Even on into adulthood, the hippocampus is still producing new neurons, which we only found out a few years ago. We had always thought that all the neurons that were ever going to be in the brain are there at birth, and then they just start dying, and you never gain any new cells in adulthood or in old age. But that's actually not true. You're always gaining new cells. So the brain is very plastic, it's very alive, and it's always reprogramming itself. Um, so what is intelligence, really? What do we mean by intelligence? What do we mean by logic? Are intelligence and logic the same thing? Um, because logic, we mean logos, we mean the rational, speakable order of the universe, basically, right? So that means it's going to have to be linear because it has to be readable. Like we can put it out on a line from left to right or right to left if it's Hebrew or whatever. It's in a straight line though. It's linear. It's one idea after the other, and we can never gain a sense of dynamic truth that way. Maybe we can do that with video. I think I've seen some videos on YouTube that have dynamic truths that you can't really say. You can't say what the meaning of the video is, but you can certainly experience the meaning of the video um, on a dynamic level, on the level of what intelligence probably really is. The difference between intelligence and logic is that intelligence can be dynamic. Logic is only one dimensional or two dimensional. Point to point. Whereas when we're intelligent, you said intelligence processes meaning, Gary, which I agree with, but it's an ongoing process. So you also said it refines definitions, but the thing is, it's constantly re-refining definitions because the definition, definition sounds like it's a final fixed meaning, and that each word is forever, eternally what it is. But that's not how language actually is. We all know that words are constantly changing meaning as time goes on, and even in the same time period, just in different contexts, a word can mean different things. And how do you define a context? Those are like opposites. Um, so when you say that intelligence refines definitions, we have to amend that, I think, to say intelligence is always re-refining definitions, recontextualizing definitions. It's never going to have the final definition. My phone's ringing. Hold on a second. All right, so I was saying that the definitions are ongoing. They're always being recontextualized by intelligence, because intelligence is the imagination. It's the builder of meaning that regulates between habit, the past, the memory, and novelty, or the future, or creativity. Um, the intelligence is what allows us to balance that relationship to time. And so it is important, but nobody is in control of it. And I think I've made a couple of videos about knowledge and action being part of one process. So instead of talking about things, we talk about events. So there aren't any nouns really in the world. You know, it's the number one noun we have to get rid of is the names that we assume that we are. Like I am Matthew, and you're Gary, and Mystic is Nick, and Mork, and we have names, and that's what the story of golems is. That a golem is this um, Kabbalistic figurine that is given a magical spell by having its name written on its forehead, and that brings it to life. And if you erase the name, the body collapses. And it's sort of a metaphor for how God created Adam out of the dust of the earth, right? And it's just an interesting, that's the original myth. And then the mechanistic worldview sort of is an adaptation of that, in that we each have the ego, which is the motivator inside, or the controller inside, that gives our intelligence this holder or haver or owner, which really there is no owner of intelligence. There is only intelligence, which is why to tell the intelligence that it is selfish and inherently evil and lizard-like is to program it, right? You're telling that intelligence, which from the beginning is innocent, you're telling it that, no, you're selfish, so you should behave selfishly. Or that's how they're going to take that. If I'm selfish, then I must be selfish, right? But if you tell it you're not selfish, you love everyone naturally, then never are there any barriers erected. So selfishness never really takes hold. If a child learns to value and gain a sense of well-being from sharing and being open emotionally with others, then that's how they're going to grow up.